Would you buy a house in this market? I hear that all the time. And recently I did decide to buy a house in this market. So if you've heard me on this channel, I have mentioned that recently we've moved, and I thought I'd talk to you about some of the reasons why we decided to go ahead and do that. So why don't you stay right tuned? Let's jump right in. Good morning, everybody. This is Chelsea Robinson from the Gather Home Group with Keller, Williams, Fort Myers, and the Islands. And I hear all of the time, would you buy a house in this market? And people want to know my honest opinion. Is this something that I would do? And the answer is yes, I did. So if you've been watching the channel, then you may have seen me talk recently at the beginning of last couple of videos. I have mentioned that I appreciated patience in my erratic filming schedule because we were going through a move. I was filming in all sorts of different locations than I normally would have in the past. And so I had moved and I wanted to kind of go off script a little bit less planned than I normally would be. You'll probably hear some more ums and ahs while I try to figure my way through this one. But I just wanted to kind of have a heart to heart with you all and tell you why I made that decision, why we made that decision. You know, I am married. So why we decided to make the decision to move. This is our new house. So I'm inviting you into my home and let's talk a little bit about why we decided to do this. So let me give a little bit of backstory here. My parents and my brother both live here in town. They are in the same neighborhood together, and we were about 15 minutes away. So we weren't far, but we were, still close enough to see each other regularly. They were 5 minutes from my kid's school. We were 15 minutes from my kid's school. And so one day over dinner, after family photos are taken, my mom looks at me and she says, "Have you ever thought about being in the neighborhood too? What are your thoughts about moving?" And truthfully, we were very comfortable. We had been in our previous house since 2019. We'd ridden through. We had room for everybody and everything, but it was starting to feel a little bit cramped. We were starting to feel, we're just outgrowing the space. My kids were getting older. I didn't have dedicated office space at home, and so little things like that. Our previous house was 2006 build, and so my husband and I looked at each other and we're like, we'd talk about it, right? We're comfortable where we are. We don't need to move, but let's explore the option. So we went out in the middle of October when not a lot of people are probably looking at buying homes because we're just past Milton and just before the election, and there's always a lot of uncertainty in that time period. And 3 days later, we were under construction on this one. Come here. Come on. Come on. And so we went and looked and found this house. This is new construction. It is a little bit larger. I now have dedicated office space, which is nice. And we can finally set up my filming studio the way I'm just excited to get that set up and kind of see what that turns into. And so we went ahead and moved forward in a time when less people probably would have been considering it. So with all that said, I wanted to go ahead and tell you guys the reasons why we decided to go ahead and do that. And part of it is, and just part of it, there's several reasons, but one of the reasons is that life happens, right? I mean, people get married, get divorced, have children, become empty nesters, lose jobs, gain jobs, unfortunately probate. Life happens to us all. And for us, part of it was life circumstance, right? We wanted to be closer to the kids' schools. We wanted to be closer to my parents. Here, school of choice is a thing, and I preferred the options for one of my kids who are aging out of their current school to go on to the next one. I liked her options better over at this location. And so part of it was just our life circumstances. It was time for us to explore because of life circumstances. Another reason, though, was that the numbers did make sense for us. Like I mentioned, this is new construction, and things like insurance is less expensive on new construction. Also, this was a spec home, which means that the builder had already built the home and they'd made all the choices. It was ready to go. I could have moved in if I had had cash to pay for everything. I could have moved in the following week if I had wanted to. They were ready to sell it. And because of that, because they wanted it off their books, a lot of times with that situation, you may be able to find where they're willing to cut you a deal or cut on closing costs, cut on the home price, cut on, maybe giving you some upgrades that you might not have gotten, or the buying down your interest rate. For us, we got a pretty good rate. We got under the sales price, under appraisal value. So I already had some equity made there. Also, they paid full closing costs. Also, they did a buy down on my interest rate. And we're able to guarantee a 4.99 interest rate in a market right now where we're sitting closer to 6s. So it made it a little bit easier and digestible for us to be able to run the numbers and say, hey, yeah, less on insurance, more incentives. So let's explore it. Another reason why we decided to go ahead and move forward was because, like I said, this is new construction. And for us, that was important because our previous house was missing things. We didn't have hurricane impact windows and doors. And in fact, when we pulled out our shutters for the first time, we found out we were missing half of our shutters. So some of our windows didn't even have protection. So the ability to stick around and feel safe in the home was kind of important to us as well. Because our old house was built in 2006, we were starting to get to a point where, some of the systems were going to start needing to be replaced. We already had a new roof from Ian, but HVAC was going to need to be replaced, and all of the main mechanicals were going to need to be taken a look at. And so it made sense for us to explore this option and go ahead and pursue it, because we knew that the quality of the home build was going to be solid and we wouldn't need to really worry about it. And for us, that's important. I know sometimes some people, they may want a project, and that's great, but we just weren't in a place that we were looking for that. Another reason why we talked about going ahead and moving forward is that these circumstances, for buyer circumstances at the moment, are actually quite favorable. We've got a lot more options now than we would have in the past. This home in this neighborhood would have been out of our budget in the past, but now that things have softened a little bit and we're more in a buyer's market, this was a good fit for us at this time of our lives. And so it was worth exploring for that reason as well. And then also our calendar. So what I mean by that is that we plan on holding this home for a long time. And statistically, at any point that they've been keeping track of the numbers, if you've held a home for at least 10 years, you've been up. So even when you bought at the height of 2007, when everything was going wild and crazy, if you held up to 2017 before COVID made things go even more out of whack, you still were up. And so for us, this is a home that we plan on being in for at least 10 years, possibly longer. And so definitely until my kids are out of school, which is more than 10 years from now. So for us, we were in a place where we could afford the payment and we planned on keeping it long term. And so even with where prices are, which had dropped, even if they were to sustain and not go any lower, or even if they are to go lower from here, even if we're not at the bottom yet, that's okay for us because we plan on being here long enough to ride through any waves, right? I mean, the market is cyclical. It's always going to drop at some point. It goes like this, but it goes like this and keeps going up. So really long period of time, as long as you're planning on carrying a home for an extended period of time, it makes sense. So the best time to buy real estate was yesterday. So, and the second best time is now. That's the old adage, at least. And so we lived up to that. I know that there are other homes in the past that we kicked ourselves for not buying because we saw the appreciation, long-term growth. And this one was something that made sense both in terms of our lifestyle and the numbers, and our calendar supports us holding it and keeping this home through any further downswings. So we did want to hold up our lives and our quality of life and the value that we place on the quality of our life for some potential maybe shoulda, coulda, woulda, wouldas. We wanted to go ahead and start living the life we wanted. That's the reasons that we had. I'd love to hear some of the reasons that you may be exploring moving, or maybe some of the reasons that are keeping you in your home. My contact information is below in the description. Feel free to reach out. I do have a 96-page moving guide, or you can reach out to me. We can talk through your scenario, see if moving is a good fit for you. I love jumping on video calls and going through the MLS together and seeing what your options are and seeing whether or not those are good fits for you. If they're not, that's okay. You now know you've got the education and information that you need to make educated decisions. There's no obligation to move forward. I just want you guys to have the information that you need. So feel free to reach out if you need that. If you need any referrals, I've got a network of agents throughout the US that are ready to help. Feel free to subscribe because I am a working mom. I am a volunteer in my community. I am heading from here to showings and then from showings to go help my kids' school. And so we are constantly on the move, and I make these videos when I'm not helping others. So if you want to be in the loop, unfortunately my schedule can be erratic, and I highly suggest that you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future content. I do, however, post pretty regularly over on social media, either little snippets of life, what it's like here, or things to do, or upcoming events, or information that's pertinent to the community. So go feel free to watch us over on our social media channels as well. And as always, please leave us a comment, hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell so you don't miss anything. And as always, until next time, I wish you much health and happiness.